Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy OG Dan, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about the difference between a skateboard and a longboard. So sit back, grab a drink, get ready, because it's about to get good. So a couple weeks ago I made a video called Longboards versus Cruiser Boards, and it's done really well on the channel. It's gotten over 7,000 views to date, probably more now, and I thought, why not continue with that versus trend, and we're going to make a video called Longboards versus Skateboards, because they are completely different boards and they have completely different uses for different types of people. So it might be a good video for some people if they're deciding which type of the sport genre they want to get into first, or if they're looking to get into another one, what they're going to expect, kind of. So here's how the video is going to work. We're going to run over some of the specifications of skateboards and longboards and the differences and the main attributes that each of them have that are specific to them. And then at the end of the video, we're going to talk about why you should start with a longboard or why you should start with a skateboard, depending on your circumstances. So let's jump right into everything. And starting off right at the bat with the skateboard, guys. The skateboard is a staple. It's been around longer than the longboard, and it is the third most popular sport in the United States. So skateboard decks are generally smaller. They're going to be smaller than longboard decks, anywhere from 28 inches to 30 inches generally. They're pretty industry standard as far as their size goes in that manner. They're usually not flexi boards. They're usually made out of very hard, stiff wood. Most decks are 6-ply maple, but there are definitely some differences with that. And this is because a very hard and stiff deck makes popping the board and doing tricks like that involving needing to pop the board up miles easier than it would with a longboard that is flexier. Another staple of the skateboard is having two large curved tails on a top mount construction board, which means that the ends of your board are going to be curved in that classic skateboard tail shape, and top mount just means that the trucks are mounted below the deck and they're not sticking above the deck at all. The only thing above the deck is going to be the screws that hold the trucks in place. Another thing is skateboards definitely have a mellower concave than a lot of longboards. The concave is basically if you take the board and you hold it looking down the long way of the board, and you might notice that some boards kind of slope in a U-ish shape with the board. It's not actually flat, but with skateboards it's either close to flat or almost indistinguishable from flat, whereas longboards, they are a little different, which we'll talk about later. Now skateboards, they are literally designed to be doing tricks and stuff like that. That's what they were designed and made to do, so that's what they're going to be good at. So taking the board out to do tricks, learning tricks, taking it to a skate park, stuff like that, it's right up the skateboard's alley. And if that's your main purpose for getting a board, you're going to want to go with a skateboard. Another thing about skateboards is they generally have smaller trucks and smaller wheels than longboards. Sometimes the wheels can even be half the size of longboard wheels depending on them, but the reason for this is you just don't need bigger wheels for what skateboards are meant to be doing with, and that's tricks, skate parks, and smoother ground. That's really it. It's more cost effective. And another thing, skateboard wheels are usually not squishy. They're usually generally very hard wheels, and this is to help with the pop of the board, the tricks, and doing other sorts of things in skate parks where bouncier wheels may be a little too grippy for certain things in skateboarding. Also, because the decks are usually not as wide, they don't need as long of trucks as longboards, so that's why they don't have as long of trucks. Okay guys, now let's get into the longboard part of the video. Those are kind of the main things about the skateboard that are different. Now let's talk about the longboard. Alright, first thing you should know about longboards is
what?
They're longer. Hence the name longboards. Not for real though, they are longer boards, and that's kind of in the name, but there are definitely reasons for this, and we're going to talk about them. Now, longboards generally have a lot more flex to the decks than skateboards. Not all of longboards, but a lot of them. A lot of the longer and more cruiser-orientated boards, they're just going to be flexier because it helps with a lot of things. Having a flexi board actually helps dampen the vibrations on the ground, so when you're going over really bumpy surfaces, instead of hearing every time your board moves, that vibration is going to be lessened because your board will be vibrating with it, and it'll kind of even out on your feet, if that makes sense. Having a flexier deck can also help with longboard dancing tricks. If you don't know what longboard dancing is, I have a video that I'll put right here on the tags that I talk about some easy longboard dancing tricks that you can learn if you want to get into that. But essentially it's just a different form of doing tricks for a longboard specifically, and it can be benefited by a flexier deck because flexier decks just kind of work well with those types of tricks. Now longboards, unlike skateboards, they don't have one industry standard. They can come in a huge variety of shapes and sizes. sizes, such as they come in so many different tail configurations it's hard to keep count. They got one tail, two tails, flat tails, raised tails, so many different types of tails that you have a lot of different options and it can be a little overwhelming. And along with that, there are so many different board styles to go with those board tails too. We got drop through boards, we got pintail boards, we got top mount boards, large cruiser boards, drop down boards. There's a lot of different boards. And these types of boards are meant for slightly different preferences, slightly different things. I mean, sometimes it just depends on what you like, but there's a lot of options. Unlike skateboards, a lot of longboards have a much more aggressive concave to the boards. Like I was saying, that U shape when you look down at the long way. Some of them have a more aggressive curve upwards. Some of them curve upwards more in just the four corners of the board. So it really depends on the deck, but they're all aimed to either help you stay locked in, carve around crews better, or amplify your dancing ability and dancing tricks. Most longboards also have a much bigger wheel size and truck size. Usually the industry standard for most longboards is going to be 180 millimeter trucks, and a lot of the times those trucks are going to be reverse kingpin, which generally makes the board more cruisier. And I should have also noted, I forgot, longboard decks usually come with trucks that are regular kingpin. What's up guys, me from editing. I just wanted to quick say I meant to say skateboard trucks have regular kingpin trucks, not longboard trucks. Okay, on with the video. Because they don't need to be extra cruisy and carvy, because that's not what they're designed to do. Along with those trucks, they come with bigger wheels, and they're generally softer wheels, but it depends on what type of longboard you're going to be doing. But usually for cruising and stuff, they're going to be softer wheels. Maybe for more downhill stuff, you're going to want slightly smaller and more dense wheels, but usually they never get to the point of being as dense and small as skateboard wheels. Also, something to note, in my experience, I found the longboard decks to last a lot longer than the skateboard decks, just in my experience and opinion. The first longboard I ever got, I've had for over 4 years, and honestly, it still looks pretty brand new, and I actually made it look very brand new the other day. If you want to check out the vlog right here, I did a cool trick to make it look pretty brand new, which is cool. Whereas my skateboard that I got about last December, I believe, 8 months ago, it's already getting pretty beat up, and I don't even use it that much anymore, but the tails are pretty shredded, you know. It's getting some wear and tear on it, but they definitely still hold up. It just depends on how much you use them and stuff, but skateboard decks definitely get beat up a little more than longboard decks. And now that you know all of the specifications that are unique to each type of board, let's talk about why you should get one or the other. So why should you right there, start with a skateboard over a longboard? Well, if you're someone that's looking to get into mainly doing tricks, then you're probably going to want to go with the skateboard if that's your sole purpose. Skateboards are great for learning tricks, especially any tricks that involve popping the board up through ollies and doing variations along that. You know, jumping on rails, doing rail stuff, tray flips, kick flips, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people prefer the typical skateboard. If you want to go to skate parks, while you can do longboarding at skate parks, it's generally frowned upon and a lot of people may think you're weird, and not all the obstacles are built for it. You'll have a lot more of a better time on an actual skateboard at a skate park versus having a longboard there. So if you plan on going to a lot of skate parks, I'd go with the skateboard. If you wish to skate ramps or bowls, you have to go with the skateboard because ramps or bowls are generally set to a certain angle degree that only works well with skateboards. While there are some that definitely longboards can do, a lot of them are meant for skateboards, so that's what you're going to want to go with. And here's one, if you aren't afraid to fall and get injured like a lot, because the learning curve for getting good at skateboarding is pretty steep and you're going to fall a lot. And don't get this the wrong way, you fall a lot on longboarding too, but with skateboarding there's definitely a higher risk of getting seriously injured, and you should definitely wear protection or just be prepared to potentially mess something up and, you know, break something you didn't want to break. So for you daredevils out there, maybe this is the thing for you. Also maybe not, because longboarding can be pretty daring in certain areas too. Another reason, if you're young, because if you're an old person, and by old, I don't mean old, I mean like, you know, 30s or up maybe. If you're an older adult, skateboarding might be harder for you because like I said, you're gonna fall and potentially get injured a lot, and you know, it's harder to get back up when you're older. That's just the fact of the matter. So you're gonna have to be a lot more careful, and it's gonna take a lot longer to learn the things versus if you were younger. By younger, I probably mean, you know, anywhere from like 6 years old to 15 or something. Obviously, I started at 18, so you definitely can, but I'd just say, you know, for optimal. Also, when you're younger, you don't have to worry so much about your balancing and stuff because you just kind of figure that out easier when you're younger. I don't know why. I picked up a skateboard when I was like 8 years old, 6 years old, somewhere around that, and I just got on it and it worked, you know? And when you're older, it's not necessarily the case, and it takes a lot more practice just to get comfortable with that. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Also, another reason, maybe you want a lighter board because most skateboard decks are just lighter. They have smaller, lighter trucks, lighter wheels, lighter overall decks. This is mainly because if you have a heavy deck, it's going to be harder to pop and do tricks with it. So they're designed to be very durable, but also very light. So it could be something potentially if you just want a really light board and you don't care about how bumpy it feels. I don't know, man, but yeah, just something to think about. And the last reason that I would think of is you can get higher quality boards and decks a lot cheaper than you can get higher quality longboards. So the entry into skateboarding doesn't cost as much up front as it does for longboarding, but here's the thing you gotta note. Like I said, longboard decks are a lot more durable than skateboard decks, which means that with skateboard decks, you're probably gonna be replacing them more often than your longboard decks, so you might have to pay more in the long run that way. Another thing with skateboarding, you ruin your shoes and go through them fast, so you gotta pay for new shoes all the time. With longboarding, I don't usually have that problem with wrecking my shoes. So, you know, the upfront cost may be lower, but the overall cost maybe a little higher. Alright, now let's get into longboard reasons why you should get a longboard over a skateboard. Reason number 1. You want something for transportation. That's right, transportation. Longboard decks, they can go over much rougher, different surfaces than a skateboard, and they can go faster over them, so it's going to be easier to go farther distances. And since they don't vibrate as much and they're longer decks, they're just more comfortable to ride. So if you're buying a board mainly for transportation purposes or just getting around your town, definitely 100% go with a longboard over a skateboard, just because it's miles better for that. This kind of goes with that. If you want to cruise around your town and have fun that way, get a longboard. And also, if you want to go down hills and maybe you're thinking about bombing some hills, learning how to slide your board down hills, any crazy extreme stuff like that, you don't want to do that on a skateboard. You could get like really hurt and it's just not going to be fun. Here's another thing. If you wish to improve your balance, now you can do this on the skateboard too, but for those beginner people out there, I think it's just easier to start with a longboard because it takes less upfront balance, but you can use it to improve your balance greatly over time. You can learn how to ride it with one foot, how to ride it with your back foot in front rather than your dominant foot in front. You can learn how to turn the board with one foot. Like, there's a lot of balance exercises you can do with a longboard that you could do with a skateboard, but it's going to be a little harder because of the smaller deck and maybe not as comfortable and fun, and that's not really the purpose necessarily. Also, maybe you want the versatility of cruising while also being able to do tricks, because let me tell you, longboarding, while a lot of people associate with just cruising around, it's got some pretty fun tricks. And if you just want to watch some of my older videos, you can definitely see all the tricks I do, because longboarding is the main thing that I focus on this channel at this current time, and there's a ton of really fun tricks. Another reason, maybe you want to be a part of a small, fast-growing movement, and that's called longboarding, because skateboarding is already really big and it's still growing and still fast-growing, but longboarding is a lot smaller right now, but it has been exploding in the past 5 years. And if you want to hop on that train now, you better grab your board fast, because this thing, I can already tell you, it's going to take off way even bigger than it already is. So if you want to hop on that train right now, bro, I'm just telling you, wouldn't be a bad idea. And the final reason, it's opposite of skateboarding if you're an older person, because longboarding can be easier when you're an older person rather than skateboarding. It's a bigger deck, you're gonna feel more comfortable with it. Like I already mentioned a little bit earlier, it's easier to learn your balancing initially on the longboard when you're older and not comfortable, because you just have more space and it just feels more stable, and all those reasons, you know, larger trucks, more stability, whatnot. So if you're an older person, it might be an easier thing to start with. And also, all you young people out there, don't worry, you can still do it too. Like, bro, I'm still a young person. I'm 18, bro. I'm not that old yet, and I started doing it. So I'm just saying, for older people though, specifically, this might be easier. For younger people, you know, pick whichever one you want, man. Like, you're gonna do great on either one. And that about does it, guys. Those are the quick reasons that I have for you guys today. Hopefully you found them helpful. If I missed anything, or you want to add opinions, or you have questions, drop them below in the comment section and I will respond or try to answer you as best as I can. If you like the channel and you like the vibes we got going on over here, hit hit the subscribe button down below. It really helps your boy out, and we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers because then we're gonna have a custom board giveaway. Without further ado, that is your boy OG Den signing out. Thank you OG gang for being subscribed and watching the video. And until next time, stay stoked, keep riding, have an awesome time, and peace out.